Hey, Swan.
Hey, Barry.
Hey, our sponsor is back, Distilled Experiences. You can find your experience at distilledexperiences.com. And be sure to use the promo code MyBourbonPodcast for 10% off any public tours. Welcome back, everybody, to another week's episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry, here on this kind of gloomy Sunday afternoon. Almost forgot what day of the week it was. Sitting down with my good buddy, Swan.
Hi.
The Swan. How are you, Swanee?
I'm pretty good.
Good, yeah.
I have not been drinking enough bourbon.
Well, we did just do something kind of different for our Patreon listeners. We did a little pregame chat, which will go up, will already have been up, actually, the day before this episode has come out. So I think we're going to start doing that with all of our home base episodes, where we're just going to kind of sit down for 20 or 30 minutes, kind of warm up, have a drink or two, chat, and then you guys get to hear some of that.
I'm all for it. If I can have more bourbon at your house, yes.
Well, it's a little scarce around here, so don't get...
A little scarce.
Don't
son.
get too excited.
You could hook this up to the tap and have tap water for like a month.
A month?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for being generous with the...
I take long showers.
Oh, could you imagine, you know how like you get soap in your eye? You're trying to wash out burning soap with bourbon?
You know what? We're going to stick with Kentucky Utilities. Okay. This episode brought to you by Kentucky Utilities.
Hey, a couple of things up top here at the beginning of the show. First and foremost, if you have not yet reviewed the show on your iTunes, Apple podcast app, I'm having a hard time pronouncing some words today, so this is going to be fun on this audio medium.
Bourbon does not help that.
No, it does not. Please go and do that. It really does help us out, getting more people locked into the algorithm and seeing the show. And, you know, if you can't do that, let your friends know about the show, of course. We'll be reading out another awesome 5-star review here at the end of the podcast. And the other thing is that our Movember charity campaign is still going strong. We have just a ways off from reaching our new goal of $750 for Movember. It is a great organization that raises awareness for men's health and men's mental health. You can find out more about them at Movember.com. But the link for our personal campaign is in the description of this episode. Every little bit counts. We are up to $580 out of $750. So please, if you are able to do that, I know this is kind of a weird time of year to be asking for, charity donations and everything, but this is something that is near and dear to my heart and is, something that I have really wanted to do for a long time. I had to catch my breath.
Yeah, and honestly, there's no better time to donate to something that involves mental health. I mean, the holidays are rough on some people, so it's always nice to help out.
Yep, absolutely. So, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Let's do it.
We start every episode out with a segment called Flying Blind.
Yeah, my glass is very empty.
Well, let's rectify that, Swan, as the folks of old used to do before the Bottle and Bond Act. Please don't rectify this bourbon with anything like dip spit.
No, let's not. Ooh.
Yeah. So, this... I'm not going to tell anything about this.
Well,
I want you to find out for yourself. Let's go on this journey together.
Yeah, this is in a rocks class for me, so it's... ethanol's kind of out there. It definitely smells like a stronger bourbon.
Oh, it smells so good.
It is very, very rich smelling. I like that.
Oh, nice, deep, dark caramel and chocolate notes. And there's not a whole lot of, alcohol intensity on it.
See, I'm getting some more of that.
Yeah, I'm using a smaller rocks glass than you are. You are using the Drink More Bourbon rocks glass. Mm-hmm. I am using the Podcast Whiskey Weekend Batch 1 rocks glass.
Ooh, that's good. That reminds me of Jim Beam a little bit.
It's so delicious.
This is reminding me a lot of... you get the hug with that, man. That is good.
Is that hug or heartburn? I've never been able to tell.
I don't know. Tums might tell me. No, this is good. This reminds me kind of that Baker's single barrel a little bit.
Which one, the 8-year or the 13-year?
The 8-year. Yeah, no, it doesn't have as much oak as the 13. The oak on the 13 kind of smacks you in the face a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, speaking of that 8-year, Curtis and I reviewed it on last week's episode. So if you haven't checked that out, go and check out last week's episode. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, I like this bourbon quite a bit.
What am I drinking?
You ready for this?
I am.
This is the initial iteration of Beagle Rare.
Oh. All right.
Yeah, this was the original blend before it was touched by any of us content creators in the podcast
I like
in
this.
Whiskey Tube world.
Can I get some more? No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that.
There's not much of it left, man.
No. No, this is very good. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, and it's funny if you listen to the episode that I did with ADHD Fishing.
Which you should, by the way.
You absolutely need to go listen to that episode. I'm going to go out on a limb here. No offense. Maybe the best episode of the year.
Oh, that's fine. Birds don't make very good content.
What are you talking about? You've had great content.
Well, if you can have a beagle that also flies, don't get that on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was... I actually, it was weird. I didn't talk about it last week because I kind of forgot about it, and I was a little sick when I recorded with Curtis. But that was such... It was such a special experience.
It was.
Getting to do that episode.
And it's such just a unique angle for bourbon in general. It's like a crowdsourced bourbon.
Yeah. Yeah. And, hearing all of Matt's energy and passion behind it.
Yeah.
It was, he was sitting right where you are now. And, listening to him talk about his aspirations and his goals, not just within the bourbon community, but personally as well. And, just seeing how bourbon is really a factor in that and part of his life and our lives and everything in this little community. It was special, man. And, I don't want to spoil too much, but the moments after the podcast within the podcast, those are moments that I will think about and treasure for many, many years.
Yeah.
So I recommend, if you have not gone and listened to that episode yet,
Or watched
the YouTube video, which I want to throw this out there. And it seems like, well, let me wrap up my first thought. Go check out that episode and go check out the video where I actually do my blending for Beagle Rare. But anyway, circle back around. People seem to really like that video.
It's a good format.
And the fact that I did a video at all, and they keep saying, do more YouTube videos, do more content like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of considering being more active on the YouTube channel with something called Behind the Perr Bar with Perr Bear, or
do it. Yeah.
or something that just, is more video content. I mean, I wouldn't do it if people didn't feel so strongly about it and made so many
if it resonates,
awesome comments about it.
Yeah, if it resonates, definitely do some more of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, leave us a comment somewhere.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, and let us know if that's something you guys enjoy and what you would want to see out of it. Because, we can't replicate the ADHD fishing video to a T. That was just... It was amazing, to be honest. But if there's some content you wanted to see, even if it was just video reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, there's only so many reviews we can do in a year, right? Literally, there's only 52 at most reviews that we can do in a year.
Yeah, unless we just have lightning round, and by the end of it, I'm like, someone give me a ride home.
Bourbon Pursuit's got a corner on the Whiskey Quickie, so...
Yeah... No, we'll let them have that one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that, if there is something, and maybe it's not every week. I don't know if I can do every week with video content, maybe every other week or a couple times a month or something like that. But if there's, something that people want to see get reviewed, in that same kind of format that I did. I'd love to hear about that. You can send us tweets to @mybourbonpod or, hit us up on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You can also send emails to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. We actually have an email that I'm going to be reading out later on, which, I always like reading out emails. Swan's pointing to the E.H. Taylor Straight Rye.
Perry, I'm thirsty.
I love Sunday afternoon drinking.
Me too.
It's a good time, man.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Well, as we pour this next whiskey, Swan, what have you been drinking recently?
Rise. It got cold. You start reaching for some of these like higher proof things and you're like, well, these are great. But you know what you can't drink every night? Higher proof things. So you kind of want that like extra warmth in your chest, a little extra warmth in your glass, wherever you want the warmth. It's fine. But it's something I wanted, and I get that from Rise. So I've really jumped on that train recently. And a bottle that somebody actually let me finish up was, and Perry just picked up one, was a Russell's rye, the single barrel rye. Oh, no, you pour what you want. You go for it, good sir.
It's my house.
It's your house.
I'll do what I want.
Exactly. But no, that single barrel rye that they have, if they ever open that up for picks, Perry, we got to go. I might buy the whole barrel. I don't know. That stuff's so good.
Hey, speaking of picks, we might have some news about the first ever This Is My Bourbon podcast pick.
Is it the one I was also informed of?
By a certain
entity,
mutual friend of ours?
Yes.
We'll talk more about that here in the future. But
yeah.
If anybody's interested in learning more about that, stay tuned because we've got some really cool things happening in 2020.
Stuff's moving.
We're calling it the 2020 Vision Year. No, that's dumb. We're not going to call it that.
You can, but that'd be a lie. My eyesight's terrible.
I don't wear glasses or contacts.
Proud of you.
It's amazing. I am the only person in my family who doesn't need them.
I went to a concert yesterday and sat at the top, and I was just like, just for clarification that I need these, let me take my glasses off for a second. I was like, oh, blobs. Yeah, no, they're a necessity.
Which one's my girlfriend again?
It's so hard.
They don't call it the Ginger Choir for nothing.
Yeah, no, it's just, I couldn't pick it out.
Yeah. So you've been drinking a lot of Rye.
A lot of Rye, yeah. No, the Russell's Reserve Single Barrel Rye has been great. The Wild Turkey 101 Rye. Honestly, Wild Turkey, congratulations on your Rye. The Cornerstone was amazing. I got another sample of that. Mm-hmm. I really need to check out some more Jim Beam Ryes because I've been lacking in the Knob Creek Single Barrel Rye category. I have not actually owned one yet, but I've had sips of some. And then just the regular standard offering of Jim Beam Rye. Mm-hmm. It's a staple. If you don't have one of those sitting around, you should really go grab one. Oh, yeah. What have you been drinking lately, Perry?
As I tap on the bourbon cap. What have I been drinking recently? Well, let me tell you, Swan, what I've been drinking recently. So I was at the Wild Turkey Distillery the other day, and they had something real special in the gift shop.
Ooh, okay.
They had, not that bottle, this bottle. That was another Russell's bottle, which we're going to try here in a little bit, I believe. This is the Master Distiller 2019 Russell's Reserve Single Barrel.
That is special.
It is from Camp Nelson F.
Even better.
It was distilled in 2009 and dumped on 9/11/2019.
All right. 10 years old.
So, well, just about, yeah. So I saw it and I was like, I think I need to get that.
Yeah.
I really think I need to get that. So Eddie himself actually picked it. I'm curious to see what you think about it because it is very, very different from any Russell's pick I've ever had.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Yeah. And then also, we're going to try some of this a little bit later on. This is Justin's House of Bourbon's new Russell's pick as well. Just picked this up today.
Cool.
And I actually tried it while I was there because, luckily Justin's is cool because they have that tasting bar, and all their picks are there. So if you want to try their picks before you actually buy a bottle, you can do that.
That's amazing because some of them I've really wanted to try picks.
Yeah.
Before I bought.
It's one of the reasons that I picked this up. Not only was it because it was good, but because it was also distilled within about 2 weeks of this master distiller bottle.
Oh, okay, so it's just very similar. Or potentially could be similar.
Potentially, yeah. Same warehouse. Actually dumped a day before the master distiller pick and bottled on the same day.
Okay.
So we're gonna see what's up with this. Again, same rick house, same floor, just 2 different picks. So we're gonna do a little side by side here in a bit. And then also something that I recently kind of revisited. I talked to you about this. Is the Barter House?
Yeah,
the Orphan Barrel.
Yeah,
which it's funny. It's actually the oldest bourbon that I now own because I bought the rest of it off of you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that bottle I picked up in, I believe, the end of 2017. So it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Released that year. So that's some old juice.
It's
what is that? 96,
96, 97?
96, 97. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It surprised me when I went back to it because I remember us being like, I just don't.
Well, I always thought it was good. It was just a little watery, and it was just nothing but butterscotch and oak.
Sure.
And it didn't really have a ton of nuance, and that's kind of what I associated, at least when I first started picking up that Barter House. I was like, this is going to have so much depth.
Yeah.
And it just didn't have that.
Yeah, that butterscotch, I think, is still really prominent. Mm-hmm. But as it's had time to open, the age is really starting to show through. And I think that at 90 proof, it's really quite appropriate.
Yeah, I remember their original tasting notes. One of the big things that they hammered home was biscuits with honey on it. They said that was a big thing for them.
I don't know if I ever have picked that up.
Yeah.
On here. Oh, here we go. It says on the bottle, a soft and elegant nose reminiscent of warm spice, biscuit, and buttercream is cunningly paid off with a mellow taste of roasted grains and charred oak, finishing with pleasing hints of spice and brown sugar.
You mean butterscotch, right?
Butterscotch.
Yeah, butterscotch.
Yeah, that's exactly what that means.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good. It's definitely not something I'd reach for every day, especially being 20 years old. You're like, this is just a novelty as well. Like, you should just have people try it. Because I would love to have somebody try blind Wild Turkey 101 and then that. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee most of them would say, I kind of like both of them. They're really good. I have a hard time picking which one I would like out better, if not picking the Wild Turkey. And then come to find out that whole, the longer it's been aged, the better. Mm-hmm. It just really gets thrown out the window with having, that and something a little younger, 6 to 8 years.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been drinking recently. This E.H. Taylor Straight Rye is very good.
It is, yeah. It's... I can't believe I used to make old fashions with this. Yeah.
Actually, I bet it makes a pretty daggum good old fashioned, if we're being honest. Yeah.
It did. I used some spiced cherry Woodford bitters with some orange bitters as well. And used that. Amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I actually would like to try that in an old fashioned sometime.
We can make it happen.
All right. Sounds good. Swan, do you want to get into some news of the week?
Yeah, what news we got?
Well, let's talk about some recent releases. The biggest one, I think, being not actually a bourbon, but bourbon related. Bourbon adjacent. Bourbon related. Maybe not adjacent. Anyway, it's the Boone County Bourbon Stouts from Goose Island. Those beers are wickedly popular every single year.
They are, yeah.
When they come out. And,
honestly, just this time of year, beer that's been barrel finished is getting big.
It's so good, man. Mm-hmm. It's so good. I had the willetized Lagunitas the other day that's aged in their rye barrels. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's great, but it will get you messed up because the main release of it is it's not quite a 750 ml bottle. Mm-hmm. It's probably like a 500 ml. or something like
Yeah,
that.
they call them bomber bottles.
Yeah. And I at first was like, oh, I'm going to have some of this and then save the rest for later. I drank the whole bottle. I regret nothing, okay?
Yeah, no, those are
good.
how naps on the couch start, at least for me.
Perr Bear and the couch naps. Anyway, so their newest releases of the Boone County Bourbon Stouts just came out. I'm a fan of them. I know you don't really drink bourbon much, or beer much, rather.
Yeah, no, I drink bourbon, not beer. But I've tried some of them, and for me, they're more tolerable, but it's still not something I like that much.
What is it that you don't like about them? Is it just the beer itself?
The beer, yeah, it just tastes like a soggy pretzel to me. I can't do it.
Interesting.
That's usually where beer lands for me. And it's probably one of those things, too, that if I just made myself drink a beer once a day for like 2 months, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, beer's good.
Yeah,
now.
sure.
But I don't want to do that process. I'm good.
All this weight that you've lost,
Yeah.
it would come right back on.
Yeah, it's all good. I think I'll pass. But I don't mind finding them. I mean, we picked up what was another one we found was the Goose Island, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, like we found that one that was, what was it? The orange and coffee.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, they've got a bunch of different releases of that, and then this year they put out that Flight as well. From like they had a 2017, 2018, and 2019.
I've actually got one of those coming.
Yeah, that's just.
I don't know what it is, but this year I've just been all about the Goose Island stouts.
Yeah,
I'm just so excited about them. Like you found me 2 bottles of the regular stout. Mm-hmm. I've now got 2 bottles of the one that's aged in Knob Creek barrels. Do you know about that? That's aged for 2 years in Knob Creek barrels.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never had it before. I'm really, really excited.
Well, they have that. Is that Knob Creek that's in this, like the 4-pack that you can get? That's like the Fat Tire, I think, in Knob Creek.
That is that's New Belgium.
New Belgium.
Yeah, and that's the Oak Spire, which is also really good. Mm-hmm. That's an ale aged in Knob Creek barrels, not a stout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're definitely more knowledgeable on this. I just see, beer and a bourbon brand. I know. Perry, do you need any of this? Like that's my general go-to.
No, I understand, but it's funny because there's always so much hype around these, and it's one of those times where I go, totally worth it. I think that this, the quality of it totally warrants, or totally, makes sense when we're talking about the hype.
Do you see this being the next thing, is integrating spirits with bourbon? I mean, or like just like other spirits with bourbon? Like, I mean, this is taken off. Because, I mean, they've already done this with beer and tequila.
Yeah. I don't know, because I feel like you have to think about what's going to impart the most flavor and what's going to interact well with the beer itself. So, I think with bourbon or rye and even barrel-aged tequila, I think that is something that's going to impart flavors that benefit the end product as a whole. But if we're talking about something like a barrel-aged gin, I don't know. Vodka, there's definitely nothing there.
No, we're good.
Unless you want potato beer.
No, I prefer my potatoes as fries and or regular potatoes.
Or sweet.
Yes. But no, they've also done it with, coffee, rum.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got plenty of releases that are just mixing the two. Bring it on, man. If you want to age anything in that. Syrup.
Oh, heck yeah.
Syrup's good.
Yeah.
I'm still daydreaming about that Vermont syrup made in the...
from Whistle Pig?
Yeah, from Whistle Pig.
That Nate brought over? That
yes.
was...
Ruined me, Nate. You did.
That was something else.
Yeah, no, I'm all for them aging it. And the bourbons the beers that have been coming out aged in bourbon barrels, I mean, everyone's been going nuts over them this year, and it seems well-deserved. I've heard more about those this year than like when Zombie Dust hits and people go nuts over that. I found that on the shelf this year, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
Isn't this a thing? Don't we go nuts over this? There's no one waiting outside. What's going on? Are we good?
Does anybody know about this?
Yeah, and then the Goose Island
aware?
stuff, it's just sitting on the front shelf, and I'm like, there's 6 people waiting here for this, Perry. Do you want it? And he's just like, yep, grab me too.
Yeah. And even still, I went to Liquor Barn yesterday, and they still had plenty.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they just, Goose Island saw the demand over it this year. Because it does certainly seem like there's more out there.
There definitely is, because I remember 2 years ago when I first started hunting, I saw people posting these, and I'm like, oh, they look cool. What are those? Oh, they're beer? No, I'm good. I don't need that. But then I went one morning on Wednesday, and I'm like, why is there just rows and rows and rows of single bottles in these, brown bags? And I'm like, oh, those are all bourbon or beers that have been held for somebody. Somebody just come and pick them up. And I'm like, why would you do that for beer?
Well, because it's good beer.
And now I'm sitting at the Euclid Kroger, and I'm like, Perry, do you need beer? I can bring you beer. Do you need it?
That made me sound very alcoholic.
Well, it's good beer, guys. It's good beer. But no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it is very good. It is also a little expensive. I mean, a single bottle of that is $13. So it's not like it's, it's not something that's just kind of run of the mill, haphazardly thrown in your cart as you're going through the liquor store. I mean, you do kind of have to think about it. Beer is not like bourbon. I mean, once you open it, it's going to go bad pretty quickly. So, I mean, you either have to consume it right then and there or find a really solid way of saving it, which actually I looked into a little bit. It's not going to last as long, but if you put a cork in a bottle of beer, it'll keep for a few days.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even, really consider. But anyway, Boone County Bourbon Stouts, awesome beers. Be on the lookout for those this holiday season.
Yeah. You know what else people have been posting pictures of? And it might be on your list over there. I'm just ruining things. I'm sorry. You gave me bourbon. It's the Larceny Barrel Proof has started to hit some profiles.
I want a bottle. Where is my bottle?
Right?
I don't know where these people are getting them from. We're in Kentucky.
I need it. They've already announced the proof point. They've announced the MSRP price, which is the same as the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Hallelujah.
Thank goodness.
I am so all over that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that they also, and this is a pet peeve of mine, and I know Perry's in the same boat. As soon as I mention it, his face is going to light up. They changed the label. Because the previous Barrel Proof, they literally had the exact same label, and then down at the bottom it just said Barrel Proof instead of 92 proof in large text.
Yeah, and then you get to the checkout counter and it says $100 for the bottle, and you're like, this is not what I was getting.
Yeah, and so now it's in like all black on the front, kind of like they used to do the old Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, where they had the pirate, black label in the front. Right. I'm so excited. Just a barrel proof weeder, because I mean, no offense to Maker's Mark, I really enjoy their cast strength, but 111, I want it to hurt me, and it doesn't hurt at 111. Like I
want it to punch me in the face and then say you're welcome.
Yes, exactly. That's what I need from it. And just knowing that it's Heaven Hill, so at some point there's gonna be a hazmat version of this.
Oh heck yes.
Yes.
Man, I hadn't even considered that. Are hazmats a thing of the past though?
I think so.
I think they are too. It's been a long time since we've seen anything hazmat from the antique collection.
I think the most recent one was probably the William Heavenhill, right? That got up into hazmat territory. Didn't they put one out that was like 140.2 or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean,
even like Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs haven't been hazmat in 3 or 4 years, I don't think.
Yeah. They did just put one out that was almost 137.
That's true.
So, I mean, that's up there. That's definitely not something you could give to a beginner.
I need to try that one again. I think I finished my sample from Heaven Hill.
We'll need a refill.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just give him a ring.
Yeah.
See what Connor's up to today.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward to the Larceny Barrel Proof. I think that's going to be something I'm going to start picking up, just like I do my Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, where it lines up, and I've got like 6 of them. My girlfriend's looking at me like, you don't need more. They're all the same. And I'm like, they're all different.
But they're all good.
They all have different names. This one's nice to me. This one's mean to me.
Well, let's talk about another special release. This is cool. This is really unique and caught me off guard. And unfortunately, you can't purchase it anymore, but I wanted to kind of talk about it just in the fact that it even existed. You brought this to my attention, I believe, or maybe Adam Terry did. But that Wilderness Trail Willet barrel that they picked, the 16-year-old Willet barrel that they were selling for charity to get rid of cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
I need it.
How... Do you know how much it costs, Swan?
I got like $2. Make it happen.
Well, you're going to need $2,498 more dollars.
Ooh.
For,
all right.
For this 16-year-old Willet barrel.
You know, I might just admire it from a distance. But I'm glad that it exists. I think it's a very cool thing for them to do, and I'm glad that the money's going someplace that's good. They took a very Parker's Heritage approach and put money to good use, and gave some people that are much more fortunate than myself in the pocketbook territory some very good bourbon. Hopefully,
much more gifted in the pocketbook area.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, this is something that legitimately did catch me off guard, because I was like. So you're telling me that another distillery went and picked a barrel of somebody else's bourbon and then are selling it themselves? Mm-hmm. Like, and they're not making any secret about it. Like, it's not sourced bourbon. It's not, like they're like contract distilling or anything. They legitimately went to Willet, picked a barrel, and they're selling it under... Not even as a collaboration, just kind of under their own label.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting and different. And I wonder what it means for the future of, distilleries doing stuff for charity.
I am all for it. I would love to see some amazing collaborations. Because I think people could definitely do some stuff with Bardstown Bourbon Company where they say, hey, I'd really like for you to make a blend with our product and your product, but I want to supply some rare, 16-year-old Willet bourbon for you guys to blend with. I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah.
Or even if somebody went up to Dixon and said, hey, I'm going to supply some really old product. I'd like for you to blend it into a product that you would like to release. Something, interesting for that. And then it could go towards ALS, cancer, Movember, whatever they want to put it towards.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of bring that up as like a hats off to Wilderness Trail.
Good for them.
Yeah, really, really, really cool. Yeah. As has kind of been customary for us recently, I found an article that was a little strange, but...
Ooh, I need something in my glass for this.
Okay. Do you want to try this Russell's pick from the...
Do I?
From
Let's
the
go.
distillery? Yeah, so once again, this is this master distiller pick from Eddie Russell himself over at the Wild Turkey Distillery.
Thanks, Eddie.
What do we say to Eddie, class? Thanks, Eddie. Anyway, so this is from GearPatrol.com.
Sounds legit.
Well, it's interesting because Gear Patrol actually has a pretty long archive of bourbon articles, which I wasn't expecting. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized that they had somebody on staff who knows something about bourbon. So in this case, the article's title is, Like Bullet Bourbon? Try these 3 upgrade whiskeys next.
Okay.
And I'm just now realizing that we might have talked about this a little bit on either last week's episode or on the Patreon bonus episode for this month. Can't remember. I was very sick when I was recording that episode.
Well, let's go, Perry. You got me excited now.
Okay, anyway, so the whole gist of it is that Bullet's a high rye bourbon, and that these are just kind of your next steps, right? So the first one, there's 3 that they offer. The first one that they offer is Old Grandad Bonded.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
I'm not either, and it's because of the fact that it's a very similar mash bill, but it's much more readily, not readily available. It's much less expensive. You're making a face about this Russell's pick.
It's so good. It is so good. Ooh, that is just deep. It's got some oak on it. It's kind of leaning towards that like Russell's 2002 kind of vibe, but dialed back a little bit, which I appreciate because the 2002 it hit me in the face with the oak. I mean, it was too much. But this is special.
It's funny, the first few times that I had this, I was picking up like a banana bread note, which actually I'm not getting on it anymore.
I could maybe see like the nuts that people sprinkle on top. It's got some of that to it. I do get the banana bread a little bit in the nose, but I didn't get much in the...
I was mostly getting it on the finish.
Oh, okay. I'll need to go back in. But I do like Old Granddad for the additional proof.
Yeah. And I mean, like I was saying, it's less expensive than Bullet. And again, generally the same kind of mash bill, high rye. And so, they were, basically just making the same argument that we were. So I see that as a win. Cool by me. Next one. This is this one, they're saying the Four Roses Single Barrel OBSK.
Oddly specific for somebody that they're trying to convince to leave from Bullet.
Yeah, okay. Let's back up a little bit. Four Roses did used to contract distill for Four Roses. Or excuse me, for Bullet.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, they did. I think they just recently moved away on their 10-year product from contracting from Four Roses.
I think so.
Yeah,
but I can't remember for sure.
That's definitely the last one they were contracting from.
Yeah. This is the one that's they've got a little bit of bad information.
Okay.
On here. The picture is of the barrel proof single barrel. But they're saying that the proof is 100 and the price is around 45. None of that is true.
Yeah.
It's the OBSV that is about $45 and 100 proof. And that's all of the single barrel that you see on the shelf. That's not barrel proof.
Yeah.
But I'll give them credit where credit's due. If we're talking about, I will honestly give them the benefit of the doubt in this case. Maybe they are trying to encourage people to go for a barrel proof offering that is a little bit more expensive and a little bit harder to find. But at the same time, I don't know. This kind of seems like a pretty unfortunate oversight.
Yeah. No, there's some definite misinformation. I am not mad. I was going to be a little upset if they didn't mention Four Roses in this article, though. I'm glad that they went there.
Well, okay. I'm going to give them a soft pass, I guess.
Yeah, a meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This last one, though, it's Bullet barrel strength.
Well, that's a foul ball.
No, that's a swing and a miss right there.
Yeah. No, we're moving away from Bullet.
Here's what they say. So it's about $50. The proof is 119. It says turbocharged Bullet. How much do you love Bullet? This is the the brand's standard mash bill, rather, bottled at its barrel proof, a staggering 119. Expect a taste bud sucker punch.
I could see where they're going with that, but if the whole point's to move away from Bullet, it seems weird to recommend more Bullet.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, you could change the name of the article, and that would suddenly make a whole lot more sense.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily tell somebody to jump from a 90 proof to 120. I think that's aggressive.
Yeah.
100, yes. 100's good. If I were going to max it out, I'd say the Four Roses Small Batch Select would be probably a decent, jump in price, but also jump in proof and give you some non-chill filter to kind of add something new to that. Or Wild Turkey 101. Have them revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not bad. I don't know. I'm not super mad at that listing, but it's definitely
it kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit.
Yeah. And I would much rather them do an article about where to move on from, makers, because that seems like a more, that's the bourbon, that people associate, or
Sure.
Buffalo Trace. Or I'd love to see people start doing articles about, oh, you can't find Weller, you can't find blank allocated bourbon. Here's what you could try that's close to that.
It's funny that you bring that up because I did find another article from the Chicago Tribune. This one, this is just like a non-article. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to spend too much time on it because you're going to understand how frustrating this is from the get-go. The headline is, "Can't find Pappy? Try another wheated bourbon like Weller. But it can be scarce too." Why would you do that?
I don't know.
That is like textbook. We need to fill up space and we're on a deadline. What are we going to write about?
Yeah. I mean, that just went from like, you could either wait outside for 1 day out of the year and maybe get something, or you can wait outside 52 days out of the year and
Every
still
Saturday
probably not get something.
Every Saturday at Total Wine.
Yeah, or if you live in Texas, this article's for you. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of that one.
I didn't want to warrant that with too much conversation just because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Just don't write that.
No, I'm
just don't
good.
Post that article.
No, I'd love to see replacements for Weller, replacements for maybe Buffalo Trace, because that's scarce to get in some other places. But no, I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. Anyway. Enough of that nonsense.
Yeah, this Russell's is good. I like this.
It's definitely not bad. I enjoy it quite a bit. Swan, it's the holiday season.
It is.
Oh, and it's that time of year where you just don't know what to get everybody.
Or you fly south for the winter.
That's true. And I'll tell you, there's nothing greater to give your significant other or your friend or maybe your father-in-law than the experience of bourbon. And you can do that with Distilled Experiences, which is a local Lexington tour company founded by Nate Taylor himself, who has a massive passion for the bourbon industry, for the world of Kentucky, and all the awesome things that it brings to this lovely bluegrass state. He founded the company 3 years ago. We're about to start the fourth tour season, which is really, really cool. I'm actually fortunate enough to be working with Distilled Experiences as a tour guide. So if you do happen to come to Kentucky and you want to go and experience the Bourbon Trail in all of its glory, you might just have the good fortune to have old Perr Bear himself be your tour guide for that. So pretty cool, right?
Oh, yeah, it's great. Very guided tour by Perry.
Yeah, let me tell you, there is nothing better than having a bear driving the bus.
Ooh, okay. I'll take your word on that one.
My big bear paws can't really grip the steering wheel.
Coordination isn't great, but you'll get there.
The opposable thumb thing, no good.
Yeah, you'll get there, and then you'll get... But did you die, though? Yeah.
And that's my honey hole. Get it? Anyway, if you want to get 10% off any public tour, which runs Friday and Saturday each week, you can head to distilledexperiences.com and at the checkout, use the code MyBourbonPodcast. Once again, distilledexperiences.com and use the code MyBourbonPodcast for 10% off any public tour. On with the show?
Yeah.
Okay, great. One more thing to talk about before we get to our review. Okay. Do you want to talk about... before this episode, you and I threw some ideas around. And we said we could do one of two things. Well, really, we threw a couple ideas out. And it was like, we could do both of those things. But we've done a lot already. Mm-hmm. So we could kind of scale it back to one of the two. What would you rather talk about?
Let's talk about like some New Year's resolution stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so... other than to find BTAC,
that's not a resolution. That's a wish.
Well, it's mine. I still want it. But no, the biggest New Year's resolution, I guess, would be to lose weight.
That's what everybody does.
Yeah, that's the big one. So, hordes of people crowd Planet Fitness, and I'd like to kind of cater it a little more to what you said earlier. You hinted at the whole beer conversation. You can't have beer and bourbon every night and really expect it to, really maintain a good amount of health. I mean, eventually you find yourself saying, "Ooh, I need to take a couple days off." So just over the past, I'd say about 2 years for me, I've really kind of focused in on that and tried to maintain a healthy lifestyle of both. I want to drink a lot of bourbon. Also, I don't want to wake up and feel awful.
Yeah.
And generally, you know, it's hard to find that balance, but there's ways to do it. I mean, one person that does this really well, I think, is the Whiskey Vault. They have their quarterly dry week just as a check-in. Like, hey, do you have a problem? Are you good? And if you don't, then you can, you know, as soon as Monday rolls around, have a pour.
Yeah.
I think that's a phenomenal idea. And I do something similar where I kind of tell myself, you can only drink X amount of days out of the week. So I only drink 2 days a week.
Sure.
One for content and one for, you know,
just enjoying
whenever. Yeah.
And I mean, I drink more than that out of the week, but
yeah.
I mean, it is a good time of year to kind of reassess that and, you know, go, I don't need to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 26. I should take care of myself.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, it's, you have to understand what your relationship is with bourbon, right? And I mean, you know, if it's a crutch, that's a problem. If it's something that you enjoy, that's fine, right? And I mean, you have to look at how you're drinking it, when you're drinking it, if you're drinking it with other people, you know. I mean, it's all, you know, there's a whole bunch of different things that go into it.
Yeah.
But, you know, New Year's resolutions are just an excuse anymore to make a Facebook update.
Yeah, it is. But you can make it more personal. I like to start my New Year's resolution in November because it feels more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I started in November, it's a thing. I can kind of, you know, really dedicate myself to it. And then when New Year's comes around, everyone's like, I'm going to get off the couch this year. And I'm just like, yeah, but are you though? And then
exactly.
I've kind of been doing it since October, November at this point, and I'm like, I can definitely keep going.
I like December 1st resolutions.
Yeah, they're good. They kind of set the tone. However, and this is completely what I do every year. Yeah, as much, you know, as I like to boast about, oh well, I meal prep and I do this and that. As soon as it's like Thanksgiving Day or Christmas, I'm like, I'm eating anything and everything. If it's edible, it's going down my throat. I want it.
Swan, anything's edible if you try hard enough.
Yes, you were correct. But and then plus, like, we all love our families, right? Sometimes you need a little bourbon when you're around them. Definitely have a glass or two.
Bingo. Enjoy
yourself. Loosen up a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, just don't. You do need that kind of check-in, and it's good to start stuff a little early. December 1st is a great time to start your
Yeah, because, I mean, at that point, then you're kind of prepping yourself for the holidays, and, you know, it's, you know, look, and let's be honest, the holidays are not always the easiest time of the year.
No.
They can be really difficult for a lot of people. I'll be honest with you. The holidays are a really good time for my depression to act up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm laughing about it, but it's just because, like, I have to laugh about it or else I'm going to cry constantly.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like right now I'm commuting. I just, you know, I'm at a new job or soon, but for the current time, it's like,
congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But currently I get up and it's dark outside and I drive to work and I sit in a building. And then by the time I get home, it's dark.
It's still dark outside.
And I'm like, oh, this seasonal depression thing, welcome.
I feel it like as soon as it switches from fall to winter.
Yeah.
As soon as autumn is over.
I don't need that groundhog to tell me.
the seasonal affective disorder kicks right in. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah. No. It's definitely an adjustment.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's something that, you know, is another reason why the Movember campaign is so important to me. And, you know, I know how difficult it can be. I know how hard it can be to, you know, either just not talk about it or just kind of wallow a little bit. It's easier. It is easier. I mean, I'm not going to make any bones about it. But it's also easy to fall in the crutch of drinking a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we had talked about this, and weight loss is a big thing, but honestly, health. Health in general.
Absolutely.
Mental health is just as important as physical health.
100%.
And sometimes those things are kind of tied together. So I know that like what I've started doing since I've attempted to lose weight is I've drink more water. I know Chad says it as a joke, but legitimately, if you're taking a shot, you should really have about 8 ounces of water per shot worth of alcohol. So I mean, it'll help a few things. One, just make you feel better. You don't feel like your entire body has dry mouth when you wake up in the morning. And it's nice too because it just kind of helps clear out some of the toxins and stuff. I mean, you can still, by all means, you get a good Russell's pick, you delve into that thing, go for it. But have like a 40-ounce water bottle next to you.
Hydrate, yeah.
Sip
Stay
on it.
hydrated, man.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people on tours all the time too. When I'm driving the bus, I'm like, look, especially during the summer, it's hot outside. You're going to be drinking whiskey. Stay hydrated. Bring a bottle of water. We provide water and Ale-8 for people on the bus. I mean, grab a bottle. Most of the distilleries don't care if you have something to sip on, water-wise, if you're on a tour.
That's true. Hey, the barrel sweat, you do too. Drink some water.
Exactly. I mean, that's a T-shirt right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I just think it's kind of important for us to, every now and then talk a little bit about responsibility with drinking. And, it is important even for us to kind of step back and go, hey, let's reassess things from time to time. And, everybody's going through the same stuff. We're all in the same boat, and I don't want to get too personal or too meta or anything, but like, it's supposed to be fun.
It is, yeah. And you can definitely still have fun with it, but sometimes just taking a few extra steps makes it that much better. Like here, I'll give a shout out to somebody I think has been doing wonderful with this.
Sure.
Joe Green.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Killing it.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he still enjoys bourbon. He messaged me the other day, and he was asking about getting somebody into our group because he's just still going out there and, like, expanding the family for us and introducing people to high-proof bourbons and stuff. And then he's posting about how much weight he's lost, and he's doing great with it. And he's absolutely killing it. That's somebody that's balancing their lifestyle super well.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even say that's beyond well because most people's thing is I just want to maintain where I'm at. I want to be there. So, I mean, that's great. But, I mean, everyone has their own things that work for them. I'd say, again, water is a huge one. Hydrate while you're doing it. Go for a walk every once in a while. I mean, you walk dogs now.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it sounds silly, or it sounds kind of benign, but goodness gracious. Yeah, go for a 20-minute walk. Go for a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
And, just because you can't make it to the gym doesn't mean that you can't do nothing. I mean, you should at least try to get up and get moving a little bit.
I even on my breaks at work just walk around the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something. It keeps me from sitting down all day, get some stuff circulating, and just get up. And then that's plenty. I mean, people hit step counts.
Yeah.
Some people, I walk my dogs when I get home. I strangely decide I'm going to try to walk my cat. It walks me, but that's something to get me out of the house. Just whatever gets you out of the house for a few minutes is great. Getting outside is a wonderful thing, even if it's frigid out there. I mean, you can still go out and, for a few minutes, just get out of the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also just setting parameters for yourself. If you only want to drink twice a week, stick to it.
Yeah.
I've even done this with buying bourbon. I make a list now for me of 5 bourbons, and if I don't see them, I don't pick it up. Just because it's easy for me to use that money for groceries or whatever, as opposed to thinking, well, you know what, this week I'll just have a day where I have some ramen, but you know what? I got a bottle of bourbon that I've never seen before, and it's terrible, and it's on my my cart now.
Yeah, 2020 is going to be the year that I really cut down on buying bourbon.
Yeah,
because I was thinking about this the other day. I've got enough bourbon to last me a long time.
Yeah,
I don't need to be buying stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have your staples.
Yeah,
and drink on them. But it's you don't always have to have a ton of new stuff. I definitely like trying new things, but that's what bars are for.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
that is very true.
OBC's got plenty of new stuff to try all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And picks. Picks. Wonderful. But yeah, walking, drinking water, that's a great way to combat it. Kind of setting parameters for yourself. If I only want to drink X amount of times a week, or I only want to drink this much, or just doing those check-ins on occasion. It's a great way to kind of keep some stuff in check. And a lot of times your physical health is tied to your mental health. Not always, but it can be. So just, doing that and getting out of the house for a few minutes, you might just feel a little better about yourself.
And look, it for anybody who's working a regular job, sitting 40 hours a week, it's not easy.
No.
I mean, with my last job, I was sitting 40 hours a week, and I gained weight. I mean, it's just, it's the fact of a sedentary lifestyle. I mean, things are going to catch up with you. And, it's been a lot of work to have to try to get it back off. I feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But thank you. Yeah. But, it's not fun to have to sit there day in and day out and feel crappy about yourself. And, I think if you do the little things, it adds up to a big thing. And that's just your overall health. So...
Yeah, and it's nice, too, because I find myself, after, have lost some weight, I want to be more social. I want to go out more. And that's even better for when I do want to go drink, because I don't sit at home and I'm like, what sounds great? Getting about a quarter of a way into a handle of something.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's not what I want anymore. I'd much rather go out and be like, Perry told me this Russell's pick at OBC is killer. And I'm just like, hey, who wants to go to OBC?
There you go.
And it's nice. I find myself getting out more. Somebody that's great at that is Dustin and Monica. They're constantly going out and doing events and stuff, and they seem like they genuinely enjoy themselves doing it. And I love that. Because for a long time, I'd much rather sit at home by myself, get deep into a pick of something.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, is that it's supposed to be a social thing. It's supposed to be an opportunity to hang out with friends and, try stuff. And, I mean, I have to, and I've started really being conscious of this too. Save a bottle until you're with someone.
Yeah.
You don't have to crack everything open immediately. And like, I have a bad habit of that. I just get excited. When I get new bottles and I'm like, I gotta drink it right now. But like, that can wait. I mean, yeah, it's okay to have that Turkey 101 instead of, the Van Winkle Lot B.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to change anything in the bottle if you take care of it right, So, I mean, just be conscious of it.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry we're preaching a little bit.
No, it's all good. I mean, just to wrap up,
Yeah.
take a small walk, drink some water, and drink socially as opposed to at home, I guess, and enjoy yourself. And honestly, you may not, see yourself dropping pounds and pounds on the scale, but also at the same time, you might just feel a little better for yourself.
Yeah,
mental health is just as important.
Yep. For sure.
It's definitely a good New Year's resolution is to just have a healthy relationship with drinking.
Yep.
So
100%.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to drink more bourbon then?
Yes.
Do you want to
so
review
glad
something?
You asked.
This is something that I just happened across at the Liquor Barn here in Lexington.
Yeah. So this is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
So this is the Evan Williams Single Barrel Vintage Bourbon, the Kentucky Derby Festival. They've dipped it in gold wax.
Yes, they have.
I didn't know that you weren't allowed to have like dripping wax all the way down it. So you have to be very precise with it.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
Well, look, man, if somebody owns the patent, I mean...
They do. I mean, Booker's has got a very specific thing that they do. Knob Creek has a very specific imprinted one they do. And then this one, they've dipped like at least a third of the bottle in wax. And it's like very, very neat. It's just funny to me.
Yeah, so I saw this on the shelf the other day at Liquor Barn, and I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. And, I saw the price, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was thinking, if it's the same proof as a normal Evan Williams single barrel, I'm not going to worry about it. But then I looked and saw that it was 111 proof. And I was like, I'm getting this bottle. This is coming home with me. Well, you're just getting right into it, aren't you?
Getting bold, Perry. Ooh. Ooh, this is good.
Yeah, speaking of cracking special bottles, I mean, I saved this to to crack with my dad the other night.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was going over there for dinner. And I was like, oh, Dad loves Evan Williams single barrel.
I wish they would bottle more stuff at this proof.
Well, I mean, I want to say, too, I don't mind the 86 proof single barrel.
No, I don't either. And that's weird for me. Because generally I do mind the 86 proof.
Yeah.
At least a little. I may not admit it because you're like, oh, I don't want to be a proof hound. But yeah, no, I do want 90 to 100 or above, usually. Generally above. But their 86 is something special.
The nose really does kind of have a vintage quality to it.
It does, yeah. I like this.
Oh, man. There's like milk chocolate covered peanuts on the nose. And maybe some like marshmallow fluff too.
Yeah, I get it on the palate too, but it's weird. That chocolate, I want it to be like a dark chocolate, but it's almost like that weird, like almost fake Halloween-y chocolate, but it's good. It's got so much other flavor to bring to the table with it.
Oh, man. And then there's like peanut brittle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even some like mixed berries as well.
I'm going to have to look for that one again. Hold on.
It's subtle. The mixed berries are very subtle. And you can really kind of get it more towards the finish. And it's kind of like berries and cream.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing that a little bit. I'm getting more of like a blackberry where it's got almost like it's not so tart, you know, but it's pretty good. I like this. Can I ask what the price was on this?
This was $80.
So that's up there. It makes me question whether I would pick it up necessarily, but once, trying it, I think I'd buy it. Mm-hmm. I could see why it sat there though.
Yeah.
Because it looks like the bottle legitimately looks like it's just dipped in gold wax and like, haha, let's charge an extra $60 for it. I mean, it's whew. That is good. That's also dangerous. It does not drink like 111. No. It's got the hug after, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a little bit interesting going on with the finish, and it does really start to move towards those sweet notes. Mm-hmm. But everything in terms of what is well represented, I don't know. It's all there on the nose and the palate. Yeah, thank you. It's all there on the nose and the palate. Overall, though, this is solid.
Very good.
And I think that if it had been bottled at 86 proof, that would have been what would have killed it.
I think it would have been good. I think it would have been hard to warrant that price for that.
Yeah.
Because gold wax is cool, but I'm sorry, I'm not paying that much extra for it.
I mean, I don't think that it's out of the realm of reasonability for this to have been priced at 65.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. This is more expensive than Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
It is, and I don't think it's as good, but it's an Evan Williams offering I won't see again. So I guess that's kind of why I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll pay the extra.
Yeah.
I might do it.
Yeah, I feel that. For sure. Well, let's jump into the actual reviewing of this bourbon. We have a system of nose, palate, finish, and price. Each category is out of 5, and then we total the score out of 20. Swan, what would you give the nose on this?
The nose, let me go back for this one more time. I like the nose. I think I'm going to give it a 3.5.
That's actually what I was going to go for, too.
Yeah, it's pretty subtle for 111 proof. I think that's, again, where I don't pick up that kind of proof that it's got on it.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like... I'm not trying to hunt too much for anything, but it's just very pleasant overall.
Yeah, I have a hard time picking out... I think this is where I knock it a little bit, is I have a hard time picking out notes. It's a very homogeneous one good note, but it's got that dusty quality a little bit to it that I enjoy. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I get a little bit more of that vintage feel on the palate as well. I'm gonna give the palate a 3.5 as well. I think it's good, but it's not just jumping out in the way that I would have liked for it to at this proof rather.
I think I'm going to disagree. I think it warrants a 4.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah.
This is definitely the best Evan Williams product I've had.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
I would definitely have to agree with that.
It's good. I think the only thing that I dislike about it is I keep wanting that sweetness because it gets almost there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it hits you with that barrel char, which is great. But I always associate Evan Williams with kind of a sweeter palate a little bit.
Sure.
So, to slap that name on the front and then it drink more of like a Elijah Craig, not so barrel proof. It's a little, it's not bad. I'm not
baby Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Yeah, that's just what I'm missing. It's either I want extra proof and the Elijah Craig slapped on the front, or I want a little bit more of that sweetness if they're going to leave it under that Evan Williams name.
Mm-hmm. I'm still going to stick with the 3.5. I just think that it just doesn't quite have the punch that I was hoping for.
Yeah.
But, finish is a little lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a
weakest.
Maybe a 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yeah. And it's not a bad finish. It's just, I wish that there were just more there. It feels like it could be, have a really nice, long, creamy and like milky finish to it, but it's just not quite there at all. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a 2.5.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And this is gonna sound bad. I think it's just a neutered Elijah Craig barrel proof.
No, I think so too.
Which doesn't bode well for the price, but it is good. It just needs a little something extra. Like it's kind of doing that Woodford thing where it's approaching on so many different parts of the flavor wheel not really narrowing in on one. Mm-hmm. And I would just appreciate it to really hit one and ride that home. I think that'd be great. It's definitely got kind of that honey viscous stuff that I do like. I think that's where the points are coming from for me. But I want more heat. I want more length in the finish, and I definitely want it to hone in on some extra flavor. Mm-hmm. Primarily, again, that sweetness.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What about the price? What are you thinking there?
Price, I'm going to give a 3.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, so
we were very in tune with each other on this one.
Yeah, so I want to, again, hearing the words neutered Elijah Craig barrel proof and then giving it a 3 sounds rough, but Elijah Craig barrel proof is in my opinion, the best steel in the game. Still. So, I mean, steel.
That's that Eastern Kentucky coming out, ain't you?
We suppress that, Perry. Suppress it. Push it deep down inside like most of our feelings. No, it's
go listen to the pregame chat to understand that.
Yeah, but it is good, and I think it warrants the extra price over the original for sure. Maybe not $80, like you mentioned. $65 would be good.
Yeah, because the original is what, $30, $35? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're talking more than double the price. Mm-hmm. For 15 extra proof points.
Yeah, same bottle 15? Even. It's the same bottle, slightly different label.
Well, 25 extra proof points. Yeah, 25. Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
But they've not changed it enough for me to warrant the price.
No.
Now, if they had done a Evan Williams barrel proof,
that would have been pretty cool.
I would see the 85.
Yeah.
I would. But it would really have to fit that line, because I'd say Heaven Hill's the best in the game at, hey, we've got the same mash bill for a lot of these, but they all taste way, way different.
Yeah.
This one, it's fallen into the Elijah Craig category, which I love, but it's just not quite there.
No. So. Well, that brings my total score to a 12.5 out of 20.
And mine to a 13.
Yeah. Not necessarily a dissuasion from trying this. This is going to be a very limited offering. It might be a little bit more local to Kentucky folks. But, if I would recommend, I think, more, trying to find somebody who might have a sample of it.
Yeah, or a bar.
If it's at a bar, I don't know if that's a possibility.
Probably not.
But even still.
If you like gold wax, though, grab it.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there definitely is. Well, that does it for the review. We've got a couple of segments that we've got to get to here. Both of these are brought to you by the listeners of this show. Some patrons, some not. But this is a really great way for everybody to reach out to us if you have questions or comments about the show you want us to know about. And this first part, I don't have a name for this segment yet. Some kind of mailbag segment.
I don't know. Swans don't have pouches like kangaroos, but that'd be cool.
Okay, fine. Yeah. This was an email sent to us at thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. If you have questions or something that you would like for us to address on the show, that is a great way for you to reach us. This is from listener of the show, Braxton Fields. He says, "Hey, Perry, big fan of the show. Keep up the good work." Thank you, Braxton. I just have a question or questions for you that I am curious about. I always go back and forth with myself on how many open bottles I keep in my collection. I know that you have a far greater number of bottles than I will ever have, and that a ton of them are open. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Yeah. Let me continue. Sorry. I was just curious on what your thoughts were about open bottles. How many do you have? Do you worry about how long they've been open? Do you notice a change in a bad way if a bottle has been open for an extended period of time? Do you try to finish the bottle within a certain amount of time? Do you ever gas your bourbon? Do you ever worry about these things at all? Sorry for the long-winded questions. All good. Have a great day. Cheers, Braxton Fields.
So I'm in the same boat you are. Most of mine are open.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways that they recommend you take care of your bourbon if you're going to have them open. And one of them is if they've got a real cork to occasionally take it and flip it over a couple of times.
I do that, yeah.
And put it back on the shelf, especially if it's turkey. Mm-hmm. Love you, Russells, but what about these corks?
Get them corks together.
Yeah.
It's called cork theory. Isn't that it?
Yeah, sure.
Is that thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then also keep them out of direct sunlight. So Perry in his studio, he's got a window directly adjacent to his cabinet, but they've got some nice blinds that he covers up when nobody's in here so that it doesn't completely shine directly into the cabinet.
Right, but the nice thing about this too, so the cabinet is facing directly into, like, across from the window, but this only gets the morning sun.
Yeah. So
even in the hottest part of the year, you know, what's the sun rise in?
East.
Rise in the east? Okay. So I would say that the cabinet's actually pointing a little bit more northeast. So this sounds ridiculous, but there's a point behind it. It's not getting direct sunlight at any point during the day.
Yeah.
So it's strategically placed so that when that sun is going to be coming through the window, it's basically just not getting hit. If that were the case, though, I would have so much bad bourbon.
Yeah.
Everything would have gone bad in this cabinet in a matter of months. But yeah, you absolutely have to keep your bourbon out of direct sunlight.
Yeah. So if you start seeing some sun bleach labels, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And then I've also done something that I've told you about, and I've mentioned on the show a couple of times, but I actually have a bottle that I opened when I first started drinking bourbon that I still own. And if that starts to go kind of funky and weird, then I know that anything I've opened past then, maybe you should start drinking. Mm-hmm. So mine, I opened a bottle of E.H. Taylor, and I still have the very first bottle of E.H. Taylor.
Right, yeah.
And if I ever revisit that every 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, ooh, this is starting to get weird, then anything I open around that time period, that's going to be on the drink soon list. Mm-hmm. So, there's a couple ways to keep you in check. What do you do in particular?
It sounds bad, but the volume of bourbon that I have is just a little crazy. And if I did that regularly, I'd be drunk all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's too much drinking. So I don't really worry about it that much.
Yeah, and it's nice too because and I just don't get out of the house much, to be honest, but you socialize more. So people come over, they enjoy it. And, if a bottle's open, sometimes it's not going to be open for too long because once 5 or 6 people get drinking on a bottle, it goes pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So if you socialize more, maybe have more open. If you don't, just leave it. And
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that, when people come over, I do say anything that you want out of the cabinet, we can drink. Everything is fair game. And that leads to basically everything being open. I mean, I think that there are only a couple of bottles in my collection that aren't open. And that's because they are legitimately being saved for either special occasions or when so I have multiples of C918 from Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Yeah.
As one does, because it's one of the best bourbons of all time. But I don't see any point in having multiples of that bottle open because it's the same batch. Yeah, exactly. And so it's going to be consistent. But I also have multiple bottles of Turkey 101 open. And it's not just different years that I have open. It's also different ones within the same year. So I've got probably right now 2 or 3 different 2019 Turkey 101 bottles open. Mm-hmm. But they have different laser codes. They're from different batches. And I find differences in those profiles. They're still consistently Turkey. But, the first batch from this year was really hot. Mm-hmm. It was really, really alcohol hot. And I got worried that was going to be what, the rest of the year was going to be like. But into, that was, HA. Mm-hmm. If you look at the laser code, it's like LLHA. That was the first quarter or whatever. The second and third, which were like HI, HK, stuff like that, those were great. I mean, they were really, really good batches. Mm-hmm. But, I wouldn't have really known that if I hadn't actually opened those other bottles.
That's true. I think what we're getting at is open it if you want to open it. I mean, don't really, unless you're saving it for a specific occasion like you did with this last Evan Williams, just open it and enjoy it. Keeping it, out of direct sunlight, flipping the corks every once in a while. It's definitely something you can do, but I mean, I've not really had one go bad yet. I mean,
I haven't either.
Yeah,
I haven't either. If in my experience, if a bourbon starts out bad, there's nowhere else for it to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if it tastes sour, it's gonna stay sour. No amount of air is going to really fix that. It may alter it a little bit, i.e., this George Dickel Bottled and Bond, but for the most part, it's gonna stay pretty consistent.
Yeah, I will say if you see any sediment in the bottom of it, that's not just like if it's a non-chill filtered, non-filtered, whatever, you might see a little bit of like barrel stuff sitting at the bottom. But if it's got some legitimate sediment, that's probably, it's starting to get bad. It's not, but until you see that, I think you're good. Open as many as you want. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. So I realized we didn't have anything to drink on next, and because we did kind of have a baby version of an Elijah Craig product, I figured we'd have a better version of an Elijah Craig product. This is the Elijah Craig's, what is this? Barrel Select?
Barrel Select / Hand Grenade.
You can only get from the Heaven Hill Distillery. Wow, that was whatever the opposite of a Perry pour is.
Swan pour. I still have the drive.
Sorry.
No, you're all good.
Anyway, Braxton, I hope that answered your question. Thank you so much for being a listener of the show and sending in your question to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com.
And we hope your bourbon collection is as big as ours one day. Yeah. We want that for you.
Anyway, next little bit, we actually have this is our second newest segment, which we started last week. I started last week with Curtis. This has been named over the week, thanks to listener of the show, Brian, also known as Wishful Whiskey on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So basically, for a little bit of preface, our voicemail hotline that was set up for the 100th episode for people to call in and leave messages for us to listen to when we recorded the 100th episode. That's still active. So if you call 859-428-8253, you can leave a voicemail for us, and we will listen to it on the show, and we'll react to it. Teens react.
All right, let's go.
Anyway, here is this week's voicemail.
Hey guys, this is Clifton McDaniel calling into the This Is My Bourbon hotline, or whatever this segment is to be called. My question for you guys is, do you have a certain flavor note that you just don't like? Even if a whiskey is exceptional every other way, once you notice a certain note, you just can't get behind it and you just don't like that whiskey. Curious to hear what your thoughts are, and keep up the great work. Bye.
Clifton, thank you so much for sending in your voicemail to this week's Bourbon Rings, which is the name of the segment.
Yes. All right.
Swan, is there a particular note that you pick up on whiskeys that turns you off from that flavor or that bourbon altogether, or whiskey altogether?
Yeah, bubblegum.
Huh.
Can't do it. I'm just not a big fan. Like, especially when it's got that, like, do you know that, like, chalky, weird texture that Double Bubble has on the outside of it?
Yes.
When it has that, no, I can't do it. I mean, I think the two most common ones are probably, licorice and pickles?
Licorice is up there for me. Pickles is definitely the one where if it's even slightly present on the palate, I'm just throw it out the window.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, no, there's a very specific brininess that lends itself to pickles that's also very unappealing to me. But like brininess in like, what's one that's got kind of a brine to it? Oh, the Voyage 10, Jefferson's, has got some brine to it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and I like that. I enjoy that.
I think it's a great bourbon, but I totally get that.
But then I've had some Dickel Selects where I'm just like, oh, I'm good. Mm-hmm. That one's controversial, though. They're doing a lot of like weirdly pickle juice related things recently, and it's not for me.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably the pickle note. Less so licorice. I don't necessarily mind licorice notes. I think that if it's coupled well with other flavors, it can work really well. Mm-hmm. But for the majority, yeah, it's not my favorite note, especially black licorice. Ugh.
Yeah. You know the weird thing is,
why is that candy?
I'll actually eat black licorice.
Will you really?
Yeah, but I don't like it in bourbon.
You know what I really don't like? This is getting a little off topic. I am not a fan of Twizzlers.
Well, okay. You know, who is? But
my wife is. Lucy loves Twizzlers.
I'm a Red Vines man. You gotta have the Red Vines. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't like them.
Somebody's seen the Harry Potter musical.
Yes. Yes. No, those need to be someone's candy, not my candy, but
Definitely
someone's candy and not in my bourbon.
No. Anyway, I actually would like to hear from some of the listeners and see if there is a note that they don't like on whiskeys that immediately turns them off. So if you have a note that you just cannot stand and absolutely makes you want to drain pour a whiskey, let us know. You can send it in a few different ways. At My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com is a great way to reach us. Or, of course, you can leave us a voicemail at 859-428-8253 for next week's segment of Bourbon Rings.
That's such a good name.
I love it. And, he also, Wishful Whiskey also said, and then when the caller answer is over, you just yell, "The bung was rung." So,
oh goodness,
are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do this
simultaneously.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, let's go.
The bung was rung. Nailed it. First try. All right.
Something. We tried.
Hey, we want to do more mailbag stuff. So you guys send in all questions and comments and everything. We love hearing from listeners of the show. Mm-hmm. We're not done yet, though. This has been a fun, long episode. I feel like we've just kind of been hanging out and chatting.
We've just been going.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. I like this kind of format. Swan, it's time for tips and bits.
All right.
Did you forget?
No, I have a good one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What are your tips and bits for this week?
So I've been watching the show Blacklist.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
You've seen The Office, though, right?
Yeah, it's James Spader, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is he playing Robert California?
Yes. Yeah. So imagine if Robert California, you know how he always had that weird
Killed people?
Yes. So you know that weird, he could definitely run the crime syndicate thing that he had going on. Mm-hmm. Imagine if he just did run a crime syndicate.
Oh, okay.
It's just that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, the whole plot of the show is basically within the first 10 minutes of it, he turns himself into the FBI because he's on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And he basically just negotiates these terms where he's only going to work with one person. And it's a person that just started. It's their first day in the FBI. And he is essentially just going to strategically give up individuals within the, on this blacklist of names that are just people that he wants taken out. So if he doesn't want somebody fooling around with his business, he'll say, oh, we're going to, give up this person. And then they hunt them down in their normal FBI crime show type of way.
Oh, okay.
And towards the third season, you're just like, this is not the show I started watching. But you know what? I don't care. Keep going. It's so good.
What shows are, though?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think they start and they're like, oh, well, we've not really hit our stride yet. Let's just keep messing with it until something sticks.
Sure. Right. I have never really gotten into Blacklist. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I'm just not really a crime drama kind of guy.
Oh, I am. I'm a sucker for it.
Like, if I watch a show, I do it for more of the escapism, and not that I don't like dramas. I mean, I brought it up, a few times on the show now, but Watchmen on HBO, it's a drama, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And I get it, but I have to have it in really small doses.
Yeah. I find myself I have things to do tonight. Laundry, cooking, cleaning, whatever.
Sure.
And then I'm like, oh, this is my 7th episode of Blacklist. It's 2 a.m. Oh, man, it's time to go to bed. That's usually where I end up. So,
yeah,
I just get sucked into them.
So I've got a couple of tips and bits this week. Because of the Watchmen TV show, I decided to go back and reread the original Watchmen comic book.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
Is it good?
It is amazing.
Art style good?
So it's, an 80s graphic novel, so, the art is a little bit dated, but I still think that in terms of presentation, it's fairly timeless. I think that it still holds up. You can tell that, and, being a comic book nerd, of course, this was kind of a turning point, and it kind of set the bar for what comic books were going to look like moving on. So, yes, you can tell that it has a certain age to it, but at the same time, it still really holds up. And I know it's just kind of a, well, of course it's good. Everybody says it's good. But, man, it's a really great book. It's if you're a subscriber to Comixology, it's free for Comixology Unlimited subscribers right now. So go and read it. But anyway, I also have just a couple more.
I'll throw an extra one in then.
You do that, Swan.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, cool.
We can jump back and forth.
Let's fight, Perry. No, I'm just kidding. So I brought this up to Dustin. He was over the other day. I've been listening to another podcast called the Mile Higher Podcast. And it is...
Did you tell me about this?
You had a few pours. It was fine.
I had a few drinks.
Yeah. No, it was okay.
Yeah.
You didn't have to drive. It's your house. You do what you want.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So... it's just they just go over just rampant conspiracy theories and just random things.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember.
And
this now.
Just unsolved crimes, and you find yourself just really getting into but did they do it? Did they do it? That kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then just thinking about the government and crazy stuff, and then at the end of it, you just kind of unplug, and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna go back to my 9 to 5. I mean, it's fun to listen to it, and they have a really unique perspective on a lot of different things. Again, it's one of those podcasts that kind of leans politically one way or the other. So if you don't align with it, it might not be your podcast, but if you do, it's great to kind of listen to it. So take that with a grain of salt a little bit, but it's very fun to listen to.
I will actually recommend another podcast. As many listeners of the show know, I love Australian comedy for some reason. It's just what I locked into many moons ago.
Kentucky Fried Chattin'.
Kentucky Fried Chattin'. Did you ever listen to it?
Yeah.
It is so good, man.
It's ridiculous.
Those three. So oh my gosh. I could go on and on about those three. They are so freaking funny. Peter Jones is one of my favorite comedians of all time. Have you ever listened to Ooh Spooky, the other podcast he does?
I need to.
Swan. I have cried laughing many times.
I have problems doing that at my desk, though, because I'll just be typing in taxes and laughing maniacally, and they're just like, is everything all right? And I was just like, yeah, this return's just crazy, man. Just keep going.
I'm happy that you listened to Kentucky Fried Chattin', but that's pretty funny. Anyway, so this is a fairly new Australian podcast. It's called Funny in Failure. It's all about Australian comedians and kind of the trials and tribulations that they've dealt with as they've worked their way up through the comedy scene. Some of them not just in Australia, internationally as well, which is really cool. I'm about 20 minutes into one with a certain comedian. His name is Broden Kelly. Broden Kelly.
Okay.
Which is exactly how he sounds. But he's a part of one of my favorite sketch groups, Auntie Donna, who is so flippin' funny. And that leads me into my next recommendation, which is it's the holiday season, as we've talked about already. And there is a very, very funny sketch that they do called Christmas Pud, which I might throw in a little bit of the audio of that at the end of this episode because it's so funny. I might play it for you here in a second, Swan. But
all right.
Anyway, yeah, it's really good. It was their first kind of like viral hit, I would say. So yeah, go watch it. It's hysterical. I love those guys. I'd love to have them on the podcast sometime when they come back to America for another tour, or maybe when we get over to Australia, which is something that I would really like to do.
I have koalas. I'm down.
Do you know the koala population is dwindling?
Yeah,
it's really
wildfires and such.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Anyway, that's been the show for this week. Swan, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram at My Bourbon Finder. Shoot me a message.
But he can't find you, Pappy.
No, I can't do that.
It's in his bio.
I can find you, Pappy, but you're not going to want to.
You're not going to like it.
Yeah, you're not going to want to pay that.
Well, if you want to follow me, I am at britter1492 on all social media channels. If you want to follow the show, it is at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can send questions or comments or thoughts or whatever you have to thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. As we now apparently are going to be doing, we're going to read out plenty more of those here on the show. We love hearing from listeners of what I believe is this fine podcast. You can also leave us a 5-star rate and review. That's another great way to kind of get in communication with us if you feel so inclined. That is right in the iTunes podcast app, if that is how you listen to the show. All you have to do is just scroll down a little bit, and you'll be able to leave us a review. I'm going to read one out for you, Swan. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. This is from X1SG Chris. It says, awesome podcast, first off. Thank you so much. He says, crazy amount of detail and attention to all aspects of the show, from the episode themes to the specific whiskeys picked each week. The high-profile guests are enthusiastic, and Perry and the host diligently conduct each interview.
Love that.
Thank you so much, Chris, for leaving that review. That is just... That makes me happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to have your review read out on the podcast, please feel free to do that. And if you can't leave a review, let your friends know about the show. Another great way to spread the word around.
Yeah, grow the family.
Yeah,
great.
And it's getting bigger all the time.
Yeah, great first thing to send to somebody if you want to share is that ADHD fishing stuff.
Yes,
we did.
Absolutely
amazing stuff.
Thank you,
especially the video. Share it.
Yes, please do. Yeah, and if you want to see more of that, of course, again, let us know. And more video content could be coming. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll even feature Swan on a video.
Oh.
Are you ready for that?
I don't know, man. Do an audio medium for a reason.
We'll just, those blocks? They like on like crime shows on TV, like they're interviewing the victims or suspects or something, like under witness protection.
Yeah.
They just got like the pixels around their face and the voice sounds like this.
Let's bring some black Legos. Make one myself. Yeah.
You're just gonna look like somebody from Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. If you are not yet a part of our Facebook group, you can head to facebook.com and search for This Is My Bourbon Group. It's a really fun little community where we get to talk about the show. We get to talk about what's going on in the bourbon community. So many people leave comments and questions there for us getting our opinions off the show, of course, about what's going on in our lives, what we like to do as bourbon consumers and drinkers and everything. And I think it's just really cool. Yeah. And also, bourbonshop.threadless.com is where you can find all of our apparel and merch. There is a sale going on right now with free shipping. I believe that's still up. If not, I apologize. We'll get a free shipping code going here soon. And then last but not least, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast is where you can become a patron of the show for as little as $1 a month. That does not sound like much, but it really, really does help this show continue every single week, every month. As I said last week, and it was very kind of timely, that day when I was recording with Curtis, Lucy had to go to the doctor to, get herself checked out. Patreon was a great way for us to be able to afford that. And I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but it does help out with some of our personal stuff. I mean, not just, it's not just money that we're blowing on bourbon. I mean, it's being used for kind of day-to-day things and like being able to keep the lights on and, hosting fees and all this, that, and the other. So we really do appreciate anybody who is a patron of the show. So that does help out. You also, if you are a patron, you get things like a bonus episode every month, which this month's bonus episode dropped this past Friday. So definitely go and check that out. Now I guess we're doing these pregame chats too before we record, which is kind of cool and fun and a little bit different from what we normally do. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun for you patrons too. We are, of course, starting up some of our live streams and our Google Hangouts and stuff like that for the patrons. That starts at the $10 tier. But again, if you just want to chip in a little bit every month and throw $1 our way, totally fine. That really does help us out. Otherwise, thank you all so much for just listening to this show every week. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
2 years in, and I feel like we're finally hitting our stride, Swan.
Yeah, we're flying now. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I think that about does it for us this week. Anything else you want to say, Swan?
No, I'm good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I will see you next week, but until then, I'm Perry.
And I'm Swan.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.
Oh, maybe a little bit of pud then.
Maybe just a little bit of
Yeah, that's what I thought, mate. Oh, mate, maybe a little bit more than that, mate.